Israel rebels against Rehoboam. Chapter 10. Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone there to make him king. When Jeroboam son of Nebat heard this, he was in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon. He returned from Egypt, so they sent for Jeroboam, and he and all Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you. Rehoboam answered, Come back to me in 3 days. So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. How do you advise me to answer these people? He asked. They replied, If you will be kind to these people and please them, and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servant. But Rehoboam rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and was serving him. He asked them, What is your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, Lighten the yoke your father put on us? The young men who had grown up with him replied, The people have said to you, Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but make on your yoke light. Now tell them, My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips, I will scourge you with scorpions. 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to Rehoboam, as the king had said. Come back to me in 3 days. The king answered them harshly. Rejecting the advice of the elders, he followed the advice of the young men and said, My father made your yoke heavy. I'll make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. So the king did not listen to the people, for this turn of events was from God, to fulfill the word the Lord had spoken to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through Ahiah the Silonite. When all Israel saw the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, What shall we have in David? What part in Isaiah's son? To your tent, Israel, look after your own house, David. So all the Israelites went home, but as for the Israelites who were living in the town of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them. King Rehoboam sent out Adoniram, who was in charge of forced labor, but the Israelites stoned him to death. King Rehoboam, however, managed to get into his chariot and escape to Jerusalem. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to this day. Chapter 11. When Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he mustered Judah and Benjamin, 180,000 able young men, to go to war against Israel and to regain the kingdom for Rehoboam. But this word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, the man of God. Say to Rehoboam, son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all Israel in Judah and Benjamin, This is what the Lord says, Do not go up to fight against your fellow Israelites. Go home every one of you, for this is my doing. So they obeyed the words of the Lord and turned back from marching against Jeroboam. Rehoboam fortifies Judah. Rehoboam lived in Jerusalem and built up towns for defense in Judah. Bethlehem, Etam, Tekoa, Bethjur, Soko, Adullam, Gas, Maresha, Zip, Adoraim, Laishi, Azekai, Yora, Ayalon, and Hebron. These were fortified cities in Judah and Benjamin. He strengthened their defense and put commanders in them. With supplies of God, food, olive oil, and wine, he put shields and spears in all those cities and made them very strong. So Judah and Benjamin were his. The priests and the Levites from all their districts throughout Israel sided with him. The Levites even abandoned their pasture lands and property and came to Judah and Jerusalem. because Jeroboam and his sons had rejected them as priests of the Lord. When he appointed his own priest for the high place and for the goat and calf idols he had made, those from every tribe of Israel who set their hearts on seeking the Lord, the God of Israel, followed the Levites to Jerusalem to offer sacrifice to the Lord, the God of their ancestors. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah and supported Rehoboam, son of Solomon, 3 years, following the ways of David and Solomon during this time. Rehoboam's family. Rehoboam married Mahalas, who was the daughter of David's son Yeremos and of Abihail, the daughter of Isai's son Eliab. She bore him sons Yerus, Samaria, and Yaham. Then he married Maacah, daughter of Absalom, who bore him Abiah, Attai, Ziza, and Shelomis. Rehoboam loved Maacah, daughter of Absalom, more than any of his other wives and concubines. In all, he had 18 wives and 60 concubines, 28 sons and 60 daughters. Rehoboam appointed Abiah, son of Maacah, as crown prince among his brothers. In order to make him king, he acted wisely, dispersing some of his sons throughout the district of Judah and Benjamin. And to all the fortified cities he gave them abundant provision and took many wives for them. Sisera attacks Jerusalem. After Rehoboam's position as king was established and he had become strong, he and all Israel with him abandoned the law of the Lord, because they had been unfaithful to the Lord. Shishak, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, with 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horsemen and the innumerable troops of Libyans, Sukkites, and Cushites. Then came with him from Egypt. He captured the fortified cities of Judah and came as far as Jerusalem. Then the prophets Shemaiah came to Rehoboam and to the leaders of Judah who had assembled in Jerusalem for fear of Sisera. And he said to them, "This is what the Lord says, you have abandoned me, therefore I now abandon you to Sisera." The leaders of Israel and the king humbled themselves and said, "The Lord is just." When the Lord saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, "Since they have humbled themselves, I will not destroy them, but will soon give them deliverance. My wrath will not be poured out on Jerusalem through Sisera. They will, however, become subject to him, so that they may learn the difference between serving me and serving the kings of other lands." When Shishak, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem, he carried off the treasure of the temple of the Lord and the treasure of the royal palace. He took everything, including the gold shields Solomon had made. So King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them and assigned these to the commanders of the guard on duty at the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the Lord's temple, the guard went with him, bearing the shields, and afterward they returned them to the guard room. Because Rehoboam humbled himself, the Lord's anger turned from him, and he was not totally destroyed. Indeed, there was some good in Judah. King Rehoboam established himself firmly in Jerusalem and continued as king. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name. His mother's name was Naamah. She was an Ammonite. He did evil because he had not set his heart on seeking the Lord. As for the event of Rehoboam's reign from beginning to end, are they not written in the records of the Shemaiah, the prophet, and of Iddo, the jail that deal with generals? There was continuous warfare between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Rehoboam rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David, and Abiah his son succeeded him as king. Abiah, king of Judah, chapter 13. In the 18th year of the reign of Jeroboam, Abiah became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother's name was Maacah, daughter of Uriel of Gibeah. There was war between Abiah and Jeroboam. Abiah went into battle with an army of 100,000 able-fighting men, and Jeroboam drew up a battle line against him with 800,000 able troops. Abiah stood on Mount Zemaraim in the hill country of Ephraim and said, Jeroboam and all Israel, listen to me. Don't you know that the Lord, the God of Israel, has given the kingship of Israel to David and his descendants forever by a covenant of all certain? Yet Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an official of Solomon, son of David, rebelled against his master. Some worthless scoundrels gathered around him and opposed Rehoboam, son of Solomon, when he was young and indecisive and not strong enough to resist them. And now you plan to resist the kingdom of the Lord, which is in the hands of David's descendants. You are indeed a vast army, and have with you the golden calves that Jeroboam made to be your God. But didn't you drive out the priests of the Lord, the sons of Aaron, and the Levites, and make priests of your own as the people of the other lands do? Whoever comes to consecrate himself with a young bull and 7 lambs many become a priest of what are not gods. Suppose the Lord is our God, and we have not forsaken him. The priests who serve the Lord are sons of Aaron, and the Levites assist them. Every morning and evening they present burnt offering and fragrant incense to the Lord. They set out the bread on the ceremonially clean table and light the lamps on the gold lampstand every evening. We are observing the requirement of the Lord our God, but you have forsaken him. God is with us. He is our leader. His priests with their trumpet will sound the battle cry against you. People of Israel, do not fight against the Lord, the God of your ancestors, for you will not succeed. Now Jeroboam had sent troops around to the rear, so that while he was in front of Judah, the ambush was behind them. Judah turned and saw that they were being attacked at both front and rear. Then they cried out to the Lord. The priests blew their trumpet, and the men of Judah raised the battle city. At the sounds of their battle cry, God routed Jeroboam and all Israel before Abiah and Judah. The Israelites fled before Judah, and God delivered them into their hands. Abiah and his troops inflicted heavy losses on them, so that there were 500,000 casualties among Israel's able men. The Israelites were subdued on that occasion, and the people of Judah who were victorious because they relied on the Lord, the God of their ancestors. Abiah pursued Jeroboam and took from him the towns of Bethel, Yeshana, and Ephron with their surrounding villages. Jeroboam did not reign because of power during the time of Abiah, and the Lord struck him down and he died. But Abiah grew in strength. He married 14 wives and had 22 sons and 16 daughters. The other events of Abiah's reign, what he did and what he said, are written in the annotations of the proper Edom. Chapter 14. And Abiah rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. Asa his son succeeded him as king, and in his days the country was at peace for 10 years. Asa king of Judah, Asa did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God. He removed the foreign altars and the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. He commanded Judah to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and to obey his laws and commands. He removed the high place and the incense altars in every town in Judah, and the kingdom was at peace under him. He built up the fortified cities of Judah. Since the land was at peace, no one was at war with him during those years, for the Lord gave him rest. Let us build up these towns, he said to Judah, and put walls around them with towers, gates, and bars. The land is still ours. Because we have sought the Lord our God, we sought him, and he has given us rest on every side. So they built and prospered. Asa had an army of 300,000 men from Judah, equipped with large shields and with spears, and 280,000 from Benjamin, armed with small shields and with bows. All these were brave fighting men. Zerah the Cushite marched out against the men with an army of thousands upon thousands and 300 chariots, and came as far as Maresha. Asa went out to meet him, and they took a better position in the valley of Yephatan near Maresa. Then Asa called to the Lord his God and said, Lord, there is no one like to help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, Lord our God, for we rely on you, and in your name we have come against this vast army. Lord, you are our God, do not let mere mortals prevail against you. The Lord struck down the Cushite before Asa and Judah. The Cushites fled, and Asa and his army pursued them as far as Gerar. Such a great number of Cushites fell that they could not recover. They were crushed before the Lord and his force. The men of Judah carried up a large amount of plunder. They destroyed all the villages around Gerar, for the terror of the Lord had fallen on them. They looted all these villages, since there was much plunder there. They also attacked the camps of the herders and carried off droves of sheep and goats and camels. Then they returned to Jerusalem. Asa's reform. Chapter 15. The Spirit of God came on Azariah, son of Oded. He went out to meet Asa and said to him, Listen to me, Asa and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you when you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. For a long time Israel was without the true God, without a priest to teach, and without the law. But in their distress they turned to the Lord, the God of Israel, and sought him, and he was found by them. In those days it was not safe to travel about, for all the inhabitants of the lands were in great turmoil. One nation was being crushed by another, and one city by another, because God was troubling them with every kind of distress. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for you who work will be rewarded. When Asa heard these words and the prosperity of Azariah, son of Oded the prophet, he took courage. He removed the detestable idols from the whole land of Judah and Benjamin, and from the towns he had captured in the hills of Ephraim. He repaired the altar of the Lord that was in front of the portico of the Lord's temple. Then he assembled all Judah and Benjamin and the temple people from Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon, who had settled among them, for large numbers had come over to him from Israel when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. They assembled at Jerusalem in the 3rd month of the 15th year of Asa's reign. At that time they sacrificed to the Lord 700 heads of cattle and 7,000 sheep and goats from the plunder they had brought back. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors, with all their heart and soul. All who do not seek the Lord, the God of Israel, were to be put to death wherever, whether small or great, man or woman. They took an oath to the Lord with loud acclamation, with shouting, and with trumpets and horns. All Judah rejoiced about the oath because they had sown in wholeheartedly. They sought God eagerly, and he was found by them. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. King Asa also deposed his grandmother Maacah from her position as king mother, because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. Asa cut it down, broke it up, and burned it in the Kidron valley, although he did not remove the high place from a king mother, because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. Asa cut it down, broke it up, and burned it in the Kidron valley. Although he did not remove the high place from Israel, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. He brought into the temple of God the silver and gold and the article that his father had dedicated. There was no more war until the 15 years of Asa's reign. Asa's last years, in the 6 years of Asa's reign, Baasa, king of Israel, went against Judah and fortified Ramon to prevent anyone from leaving or entering the territory of Asa, king of Judah. Asa then took the silver and gold out of the treasuries of the Lord's temple and of its own palace and sent it to Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between me and you, he had said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending you silver and gold. Now break your treaty with Baasa, king of Israel, so he will withdraw from me. Ben-Hadad agreed with King Asa and sent the commanders of his forces against the towns of Israel. They conquered Joy, Lizon, Dan, Abel-maim, and all the store cities of Naphtali. When Baasa heard this, he stopped building Ramah and abandoned his work. Then King Asa brought all the men of Judah, and they carried away from Ramah the stones and the timber Baasa had been using. With them he built up Geba and Mizpah. At that time Hanani the Zar came to Asa, king of Judah, and said to him, because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God, the army of the king of Aram has escaped from your hand. Were not the Cushites and the Libyans a mighty army with great numbers of chariots and horsemen? Yet when you rely on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. You have done a foolish thing, and from now on you will be at one. Asa was angry with the Zar because of this. He was so enraged that he put him in prison. At the same time, Asa brutally oppressed some of the people. The events of Asa's reign from beginning to end are written in the book of the king of Judah and Israel. In the 39th years of his reign, Asa was afflicted with a disease in his feet. Though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from the physicians. Then in the 41st years of his reign, Asa died and rested with his ancestors. They buried him in the tomb that he had cut out for himself in the city of David. They laid him on a bier covered with spices and various branded perfume, and they made a huge pyre in his honor.